What up, folks? Jiu-Jitsu here. We have the man, I call him Captain America, the myth, the legend, Dylan Royce. You've probably seen him in a competition circuit, or you've seen him teaching, tactical skills and self-defense in terms of things for law enforcement and anyone who wants to do it. You may have seen his seminars in jiu-jitsu. He's a pleasure to work with, and really talented. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me, man. It's a long time coming, but
thank you. I know we figured it out.
We got it going.
So, all right, now that we have this going, why don't we start from the beginning? Just kind of introduce yourself, and I guess the first question is, what got you into martial arts in general? Because I know you're doing MMA. You're kind of like jack of all trades, sort of, and that's
hopefully. I mean, I've been doing it long enough, so I feel like when you do it this long, it's like that's the best way to stay, improving, is to just kind of like dip your toes in a little bit of everything and, keep it new and refreshing. But I got started basically in high school because my older cousin, got back from college and started training, and it was like first I'd ever heard of it. And this was pretty early on in the sports still in the area. And so we're talking like probably 18 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And, Buddy basically was like, dude, I think at the time I was doing like Taekwondo. I had maybe just started wrestling, and he was like, you gotta stop doing that Taekwondo. Like, he's like, you gotta check out jiu-jitsu, this and that. And I had, and it's not even like I was a lifelong Taekwondo guy. Just like I sucked at every other sport, so like that was my first thing that I was kind of like, So, but he was like, so he took me to jiu-jitsu, and it was really like the first thing that sport that I really felt like I took to, because I was not like your prototypical athlete. Like all the other academic sports that I tried, like never materialized. Really? And I was not athletic at all. I mean, I'm still not really athletic. Like,
I don't know, man.
I'm jiu-jitsu athletic, and like I'm strong, but like if you throw me a ball, I'm like,
there's a different different type of sports athleticism.
Exactly. Well, you'll hear like Gordon say that too. Like, for as good as Gordon Ryan is, he's like, I'm not athletic. Like, I
couldn't imagine him playing hockey.
Exactly. Or like even like MMA. Like I can't picture him like punching well. I want to come back to that. Yeah.
Because a lot of people want to make that segue.
There's a lot of MMA guys, or a lot of jiu-jitsu guys that you watch like try to learn striking, and you're just like, man, this is awful.
Well, I think there's the other part too, where some people have this, because I started in striking. We can come back to that.
Yeah.
But like, there's the ability to willingly want to get hit in the face. Yeah. Because there's a certain level of acceptance of, I'll get squashed by some fat dude. Yeah. Versus, you're going to kick me and hit me in the face.
But that's why I never became like an MMA fighter. I was because I did some I did boxing, Muay Thai in conjunction with jiu-jitsu in my earlier years, and it just like, and I liked it and I was okay at it, but I knew I was like, jiu-jitsu was my thing, and that's what I was like, that's where I had the highest ceiling. So the other things, I was like, man, if I keep doing these, it just feels like I'm doing it to check a box, and like it's just going to detract from my ability to do more jiu-jitsu, which is what my end game is. So I kind of stopped doing them, but it was also just like, I didn't like getting punched in the face, and I didn't like getting kicked in the legs. So like, some dudes, I don't know that anybody like likes it, but there's definitely some people who are very tolerant of it, and I was not one of them. Like, this sucks.
No, that's fair. I think there's something for everybody. Yeah. It's like, I enjoyed that coming from, enough about Aikido. You can laugh at some videos with me. I came from Aikido for competition, and you probably know Jackson Vergalco. He got me into jiu-jitsu. Okay, cool. I was like, help me find a gym, et cetera, and then that was kind of it. Okay. But I was talking to him, he was like, yeah, dude, you'd be fine. I was like, I don't know, man. It's just like getting held on the floor and slammed by big dudes. He's like, no, trust me. He's like, you'll be okay. Yeah. He's like, don't. I know you've read some of these forums and things on the internet. He's like, watch this video, then blah. And that's how I found Eli Knight, because he was on the podcast. I found his stuff, very cool. And I was like, all right, and that kind of got me in the door. Yeah.
So like I said, for me, it was really the first sport that like that I ever took to, and so my cousin got me into it. And I basically just never stopped from there. Like, I trained all through high school, college, after that. Yeah. And so I just, like, at the time, I didn't realize I was, like, as addicted to it as I was, Like, now I'm fully addicted. I am cognizant of how bad my addiction is. But at the time, I just kind of, I guess it was like, hey, like, I want to keep getting better, and, like, I got nothing else to do tonight. And so, like, I'm going to jiu-jitsu. And I wasn't like, somebody in high school that was like partying a ton anyway, so like it just, you know, my nights were always open, it fit, yeah, and it just and then luckily I just kind of knew, I think I knew like once I got into it, like after a few years, that I was always going to do it in some regard, right? I didn't know that I was going to be doing it like this in depth and to this level, but I kind of was like, this is probably my hobby. Like, this is what I'm going to do for the next, you know, couple decades. So that's why if I had time to go, I was like, I might as well go. It's my thing, yeah.
You answered a couple of questions here, and I want to kind of dive into it a little bit. I always ask, you know, because there's the discipline part to it. Did you have like the goal of becoming an instructor, which you kind of answered?
Yeah,
pretty cool.
No, it's good that you asked that, because I think about this a lot. Like, I had a lot of different like journeys in my jiu-jitsu career thus far. I never really had like a plan with it. I never really knew what I wanted to do. I definitely didn't, like in the beginning, I had no desire to like teach or open a school. I thought, you know, maybe eventually I would, just because it seems like that's the progression, right? Yeah. But like, dude, I didn't start teaching until like I was a black belt, and even then, like,
really,
and I didn't even want to teach or like it. I'll get more in depth to like how that kind of started and why I like it so much now. But I think at first I just liked to train, and I was like, it was a way for me to just go in, build confidence, like become, you know, more in tune with my body, become stronger, get good at something, and then like from there I was like, whatever kind of happens. I always competed, but I never even had a plan with competing. It wasn't like I was one of those guys where like from the start I was like,
you were like,
I need to hit, it was more just like I kind of got pushed into it and thrown into it, and I had to like get used to it and get thrown in the deep end, because like I said, I wasn't like a lifelong athlete, so I had a little bit of like wrestling and taekwondo competition experience, so I was used to that kind of individual aspect, which is difficult, you know, obviously when you're not coming from like a team element, and you have to get used to just competing on your own. But I wasn't like a natural competitor. Like, I had the nerves, I had the growing pains like anybody else, but I just kind of kept doing it, like one way or another, whether I was being pushed into it, whether I was starting to develop a desire for it myself. I found myself competing basically every year at every belt. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, but at the time, like especially in this kind of greater Philadelphia area, like there weren't a ton of people that were like big national competitors. You know, you had some guys from maybe each school in each area that were your studs, that were starting to, like, you would see like, oh, he's not just doing local tournaments, like that dude just did a competition across the country,
maybe superfight.
But it wasn't like it is now, where like a lot of people in this area are all traveling, competing nonstop. Like at the time, it was a lot of local stuff. So to fathom being like a national or worldwide competitor, it just didn't seem feasible. So in my head, I was just like, hey, I'm just going to keep doing these competitions. If it's a local one and then my cousin's making me do it, or like whatever, I'll do it. But like, I didn't have this, like, I didn't even know what IBJJF was. I had no idea that like, that was like the penultimate thing. Yeah, like I didn't know like what competitions ranked where. It was just like, hey, we're going to do this one, we're going to do that one, whatever. So at the time I didn't. Like now I obviously like, I know which ones I want to do. I have a goal. I know where like everything kind of ranks. And I know what like ceiling I want to hit, but like I said, at the time, it was just like, hey, this seems like something I should keep doing, and like, let's just do it and keep trying to get better at it.
That's awesome. Dude, you were nailing these questions. I didn't even I like to ask the competition question. There's two parts to it. So you basically started, were you competing as a white belt?
Yeah, I competed as a white belt.
Nice. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and like, it's crazy because now, you know, I look at like, where I'm
tapes.
Oh my god, dude! There weren't even, well, there were some grainy tapes, but there was even just the photos, like competing in some of these like just venues for these like podunk tournaments, and like, you know, sometimes going against like teammates, and like just it was so bad. But it's funny, man, because I guess just all that stuff like adds up, like just getting comfortable with being uncomfortable kind of thing. You know,
exposure is good.
Yeah, the exposure, like. Even when it's ugly, even when like you know, whatever the outcome is, like you're still logging time on the mats, you're still dealing with like nerves and adversity and stuff, and it adds up. I mean, in a lifetime of competing, like that's that's valuable, because some people are natural competitors. Like I said, I really wasn't, so I needed all that like time to just get thrown out there at these different spots and to wake up early and drive a few hours and get beat my first match kind of thing, and like you need those experiences. So it's crazy to look back and then like, you know, see where I'm at now, and like I'm still obviously like trying to grow and improve and hit a ceiling, but to now feel like a veteran of like the IBJJF circuit, when like back then, like I didn't do my first IBJJF till I was a brown belt.
You told me that one weekend. That blew me away, because I was talking about my debut. Like I'm signed. Right. I have my registration, all that stuff.
Okay, cool.
That's taken care of. Obviously, it didn't happen last year, but this year I'm going to try to do it. I was talking to Will, and I was going to try to catch you, him, or Valor, just so I don't go by myself. Or maybe, I mean, we're in different divisions. I just wanted to
but it's nice. Yeah, exactly. It is very nice when you're. That helped me a lot. Like, because when I did my first IBJJF, it was a brown belt, and it was me and Pete Shoemaker went out to like Nogi Worlds in California, and as like a brown belt, and it just, man, it was so much different, because like I said, I was used to doing these like local ones, you know, like not even the bigger ones like Naga, Grappler's Quest. Like, there's just something that. I think it's like the prestige more of IBJJF. Like it just feels like a big formal event, you know.
Be with people in your weight class.
Yeah.
Where I told you about this, right? You probably had to do this when you were coming up, right?
I'm sure I did.
What am I, like 150, maybe 152 with my gi on, right? My last few competitions, dudes were like 180, 155, 170.
That's the worst.
I won. So
that's great. That's great.
I lost. I mean, I don't spend as much time in no-gi. Like, 165 dudes were a little tough, but I don't spend as much time in no-gi. I had a ball. But there's that. So, like, for me, the motivation's like, okay, if you do IBJJF, one, they'll probably be in my age group.
Oh, for sure.
Master, so they'll be 40, even if they're just, like, in way better, you know, physical condition and more experience. But they'll be in my weight class.
Yeah,
so
like,
IBJJF
won't even, they won't even let you, like, jump weight classes and stuff, you know. So that's the good
20 pounds in your gym is different with your front fin rolls versus your like super I want to win that keychain or gold medal rolls. Man, there's a
and it's just difference. Like, you know, it's an unnecessary like stress. Like if you're gonna plan on doing like the open class or the absolute, like, that's different. But like to be expecting to go in and do your skill, age, and weight class, and then to have to get thrown to something different, like a lot of times you still tolerate it and put up with it and do it, but it's annoying, right? Like that's not what you trained and planned for, you know? So it can be frustrating. But yeah, I just remember like doing that first IBJJF, and like I did okay. Like I think I lost my first match, but it was to somebody like really good. It was actually to this guy that was like a student of Craig Jones and Lachlan Giles at the time, you know? And I was beating him, and I think I passed him, and I was in side control, and he was so flexible, because they're like Lachlan's guard retention and flexibility was so good. He like was able to snake a hook in and like back roll and take my back. So I think I lost like 4-3 or something. But it was like eye opening, you know, because that was the first time.
It's different. Though.
Yeah, and it was the first time I like traveled across the country to do like a big major event. But after that, I was like, man, that was pretty cool. Like, you know, I'd like to keep doing that. And you know, luckily then around the same time when I got my black belt and was cross training a lot with like Nick and Danny, they were big IBJJF guys. Like they'd also done all the same local tournaments and super fights and stuff, but they were obviously at the time like at purple brown, but they were very focused on like IBJJF competition. They were very highly ranked. So with a lot of the other guys from that team, like when Valor and I were cross training there and some other guys, like we would all travel together and do those tournaments, and it was like, okay, this is cool. This is what it feels like to like travel as a team to IBJJF and have like other high-level guys going at the same time. It's a lot more like digestible then, you know?
Yeah, because it's a talent pool, but if your team is also involved in it, that was my point of going with like a crew, even though we train at different gyms, like having like folks that are familiar, and it's like, okay, I'm here with a crew. It's not just me on this like weird journey where like my nerves might take over.
Yeah, for sure.
Be fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're right. Like they can keep you grounded, and they can kind of keep you like level-headed and focused, and even just like little dumb stuff. Like if any tournament you haven't done before, like if you don't know how it's like structured and laid out, like where do I weigh in at? Like, where do I check to see that my name's on the board? Yeah, like, what can I do and what can't I do? Like, that stuff is kind of nerve-wracking because you don't want to be the guy that's, like, doing all the wrong stuff and then you're already out of your element before you've even stepped on the mat and competed, you know?
And you're, like, pissing off the refs. I had that. I'll come back to that. I had one of those. It wasn't IBJJF. I've never had that yet. Well, I pissed off one of the refs at one of these local-ish, well, not so local, but becoming a thing.
Yeah.
And like I was on dude's radar I was on his mat the whole day. I was like, oh my god.
Well, some refs are very like
I won the matches and I earned the respect that.
Yeah.
But it was that thing, like the IBJJF style, like if you change your gi. Oh, I took my gi top off and went to go to the bathroom and I came back. He was like, you got to weigh in again. I was like, It was like one of those style.
Yeah. Which is funny because like there's so many like unspoken like rules like that in IBJJF, but everybody circumvents them. So it's just about like figuring out like, okay, how do I do this and like fly under the radar and get away with it? Because you know a lot of other people are doing it, and you're like, you'll see like the Brazilians do it all the time, and they'll come in, they'll weigh in, they'll have one gi on. Next thing you know, they're competing in a different gi, and you're like, wait a minute, I know that dude didn't weigh in that gi again. Like
you had a red stripe on.
Yeah, exactly. So like. So you know what happens, and it's just like, okay, how do I kind of like learn the ropes of this stuff and just get like acclimated to it? And then once you do, it's like it's fun because then you know you do IBJJFs a lot more. You see a lot of the same people. You get like wrapped up in that culture. People know you. Some of the refs know you. It becomes fun. You know, you become part of like that organization. Now, I mean, it kind of sucks because IBJJF's very expensive and they're not very like competitor friendly as far as like. You know, I've wasted thousands of dollars competing for them, and you know they don't like. It'd be nice once in a while if they valued you as a competitor and was like, "Hey, here's a free tournament." But you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I'm the one. Like I'm doing it because I like doing IBJJF format. I like the scoring. I like the organization as far as like how professional it is. So you know, the cost sucks.
There's some return on investment there because of how. I guess the prestige behind it, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a top tier,
exactly.
Like yourself, you're in that upper category. Doesn't that have some merit?
For sure. I mean, I look like exactly. For me, I look at like anybody that I meet or research, like if they haven't won something or done something in like IBJJF or ADCC, then I'm not saying they still can't be good. Like there's plenty of guys I've trained with that like
it's just a different
fly under the radar. But I guess it's more like right away you know how to gauge their proficiency. Like if you meet somebody, you go to another school out of state, and the instructor's like whatever, you know, like Pan American bronze medalist or whatever at like adult, you're like, oh, that dude's good. Okay. You know what I mean? Like right away, you know, like because you've gone against the same level of competition, you know how hard it is.
You know that
that pool, you know the kind of guys he probably had to go against, and you're like, this dude's gonna be solid. So right away, it does definitely carry like more weight and have more merit. So for me, I'm fortunate because. I've been able to medal at some where now I can always say like, hey, I have this particular title and it carries weight, and that is one of the benefits. And for me, that was worth the investment. It was worth the money in the competing. And like I said, I mean, guys spend your money on something, and for me, I wanted to keep testing myself, and that was the organization, the format that I wanted to test myself in, and so that's what I've done the last few years. And like I said, kind of didn't really start doing them in depth until like black belt really, whereas some guys had been doing IBJJFs like dozens since blue belt, purple belt. Like they're already so acclimated to that organization and that style of competing. That carries a lot of weight. So
is that like an advantage, you think?
I think so, for sure.
Yeah, because that's what I was mentioning earlier, what I was trying to get into, like me feeling like I'm behind, but I'm also like, you know what, get in. Don't look at someone else's journey. See, like, things I can admire about yourself and like, the peers, the folks we train with that are doing those things, but like just build my journey and my path.
For sure. And you know what? It's funny you say that because I just had this conversation with my coach from Precision, Rob, the other day because, he's been around for, long time too. He was Ricardo Almeida's first black belt.
Oh, wow.
So he's been in the game for a long time. He's seen a lot of changes and stuff. And training with Rob, like he gave me a lot of, like I developed a very particular style under him. Like I got a lot of my like top game and pressure and stuff from Rob and his style. And, but like he wasn't a big IBJJF competitor, like admittedly. And so there were a lot of like different like styles of like guard play or passing or whatever that like I had no idea even existed. And like, because I wasn't doing IBJJFs and I wasn't like training with guys that were competing in IBJJFs. So it wasn't until I started like cross training with Nick and Danny that I got exposed to that stuff. However, like there's plenty of stuff that I like learned from Rob that like I may have stopped doing at one point because I was like, oh, this is like kind of antiquated or whatever. And then all of a sudden it comes like back up again. Like jiu-jitsu is so cyclical, and it's funny. And a really good example of this is like right now, like Joseph Chen is a very high level, popular, successful athlete, and he's been using a lot of over-under passing, which is like a very old school, kind of antiquated style of passing.
It's funny that these hot shots, sorry to cut you off, because I wanted to segue into this. The hot shot competition folks are showing these things, and sometimes it's just basic principles. And people are like, "This is the hot." I know. The young folks are like, "I didn't know about the old things."
That's exactly what happened. Like he passed Max Hansen like that at CJI, and Max Hansen was like mind blown by it. And like there were things that Joseph Chen was doing differently with his over-under passing system. He has his own, than say like a more traditional over-under passer like a Bernardo Faria. But still, it's like it's over-under passing. So like, to your point, it's just like certain guys that come into the jiu-jitsu scene at a certain time because of their age or whatever, they're exposed to whatever like that current or modern meta is, you know? And maybe it's very like outside passing heavy, where a lot of your retention is structured around dealing with like, you know, north-south passing and then going back to like cross scoop passing to the far side or to the weak side. And then all of a sudden, if you have somebody that throws it for a loop and goes back to just traditional over-under passing and is doing it in a more modern style, you're like, what is this black magic? You know?
God, and
then like guys that are like have been training for like 20 years are looking at it like that shit's been around forever. Like so, you know, and I'm not like anybody because these guys are all super talented. It's I think it's just you sometimes can get like you said, like lost in the sauce a bit with like thinking you're behind or whatever, this or that.
Right.
And you don't really know whether or not some of the things like you learned at a particular time are going to come back and benefit you later on. Like I trained a long time under multiple different instructors, and they all had different styles, and sometimes I might have been like, man, I wasted so much time doing this or that or whatever. And then I realized that like guys that didn't do that, when they get put in those positions, just like crumble.
They don't have the experience.
And I take it for granted, you know? So I think that's kind of cool. And I think, like you said, it's just, you just got to do like, make the most of your own journey at your own time.
Yeah.
But if you're cognizant of the fact that like you feel deficient or whatever in certain areas, then like you have the capability to take ownership of that and be like, hey, I need to jump in and learn like this and really do a deep dive. And that's going to motivate you to do it. And that's what keeps it like fresh and keeps you going even after years and years of training.
Man, you are nailing these questions because I always ask that one. And I'll ask this. How do you take that knowledge, or how do I frame this? You're an instructor, but you have your own goals, right?
Yeah.
So how are you gauging, one, what you're teaching your students versus your own personal study, right? Because that research you're doing as
so that's an excellent question. I think I'll segue back to when I did first get involved with teaching and how that happened, because I think it does tie in with this. So, like I said, all through black belt, like I never taught. I was not like some guys start instructing like fairly early at the academy. They start teaching kids or whatever. They're teaching as a purple belt, whatever. Some guys just have a knack for it. Like my brain just didn't think that way. I didn't really gravitate toward teaching. I just like to train. I like to go hard, and like that served me well for a while, right? And it's funny. I had a match against J-Rod like before he won West Coast Trials. Okay. And I had trained with him and Nikki like in the room a couple of times at different locations. Now, you know, obviously Nick's like, they're both physical and not freak athletic anomalies. Yeah. But Nick even more so, right? Because he's so much bigger.
Yeah.
So with him, it was kind of harder to gauge. Like I would do well against him, but I was like also just very undersized. So like the better and better he got, like I knew he was going to be good, but I didn't know how good, because at the same time, it's like, well, he's just so much bigger than me, whatever. When I would train with Jacob, like in the room a couple of times, like, man, I was like dominate him, you know? And now, again, he was a kid at the time and he was still like just getting into it. But to see where he is now is like crazy. And we had a match where I didn't think anything of it because I'm like, dude, I've beaten the crap out of this guy in the room, you know?
It's a different room, right? I want to come back to that too.
And he made, like, he learns quick and he made a lot of strides. So we had a really close match, and like, it was one of those, I think it was a Grappling Industries. And so it was one of those ones where like, the like scoring format, like I think Grappling Industries, they don't give advantages if I'm correct.
I don't think so.
So it's one of those things where like, in my head, if it was an IBJJF, I would have had like X amount of advantages, and I felt comfortable winning. But with this, it just came down to like a ref's decision, and I went there like, just like, I literally signed up like the day before. I was like, fuck it, I'll just go compete. So I
Thursday night.
So I didn't have a coach or anything with, and I had like no coach with me or anything, and so we had this close match, and he had like a good coach in corner. I think it was this guy Guy at the time, and like, and he did the right thing. He was like chirping in the ref's ear at the end of the match and swayed him, and they gave him the win, and I was like, what the. Now, obviously, it's a match that has aged well, but at the time, I'm thinking, man, I've been training so long. Like, there's no reason I should have lost to this kid. Like, I've beaten him in the room before. I've been training way longer than him, and it was kind of at that point that I was like, dude, I feel like my jiu-jitsu is starting to plateau. Like, I feel like I'm training hard, but I'm not like, I'm just going in, I'm training hard. There's no like intention, right? There's no like, I'm not going in with like set goals. I'm not working on specific things. I'm just scrapping. And so then I was like, I got to change something. I got to become more cerebral. I got to open myself up to more positions and just like acquire a lot more knowledge and be more like cognizant of the things I'm doing. Like, I can't just do something and then if somebody's like, oh, what'd you do in this spot, or what would you do here, just like not know. Like, I got to be cognizant of everything I'm doing and why. So I started studying a lot more. I never used to watch like instructionals, match footage. I became like inundated with it. Awesome. And dude, it's disgusting now, the notes that I have in my phone. I mean,
I want to talk to you about that.
I've run out of data. Like, I've had to buy new phones for like, just for notes. It's disgusting. But dude, it totally revamped my jiu-jitsu. And again, around that same time, I was working a lot with Nick and Danny, and they were, I had trained with them for years. And Danny and I in particular, like when we first started training, like we were always scrapping, but we were equal. Like, I would beat him, I would tap him, he would beat me, he would tap me. But he developed more of a mind for jiu-jitsu much quicker than I did. So whereas it took me after that loss to be like, I got to become more cerebral with this stuff. He was doing that at like blue and purple belt, right? So he already had that. He was
already like, I need to get on this research.
So I was playing catch up then, and so all those positions that like I didn't know that I was then being exposed to from them, I was taking a bunch of notes on and stuff. And at the time, I got like an opportunity to start picking up classes to teach, and it just clicked for me because I was like, man, this is actually a good way for me to expose some of these guys to the stuff that I'm being exposed to and working on. And then in that regard, it allowed me to, like, I had to really know this stuff, because if I was going to be able to, if I was going to have to teach it to somebody else, present to somebody else, I had to understand it. So it kind of forced me. It would almost be like cramming for a test, Like, I'd be going to teach and I'd be like reviewing my notes. I'm like, all right, this is what I'm going to show. So like, I need to fucking know this stuff like inside and out, because it wasn't things that I'd been doing for years and years of jiu-jitsu. But it was fun. I found myself like being like, man, I came away with that like class much better myself, having taught. Like, I understand this stuff more. So I was like, that's a really good way for me to now start boosting my comprehension, is to keep going in as a student to these classes during the day, keep absorbing all this information through my own study, through watching these other guys, just studying them, learning from them, and then go passing it on to other people. And that jump started my, almost like the second half of my jiu-jitsu career, and that's what got me over my plateau and over my hump. So to go back to your question, as far as like now, how I balance like my own stuff and teaching, is I try to, anything new that I'm like learning and studying and adding that I'm finding success with, I try to, make sure I'm exposing other people to and bringing up, because I have like very good anecdotal evidence of like, hey, I had success with this against somebody, and I know exactly why it worked and how, and I know that it was like effective because that person was tough. But I also still make sure that some of the things that, like we were saying, old school moves or positions that I take for granted, that I still touch on that too.
You're still passing on.
Yeah, because it can't all just be like, hey, I'm doing this modern, like look at this, backside inversion I'm doing from here, and then guys are like, well, how do I keep somebody in front of me in half guard kind of thing, and you're like, it's something that in your head you're like, well, you don't need to, yeah, exactly. So you got to have that dichotomy. So I think for me it's fun because some days I like just stripping it back and being like, hey guys, we're just gonna like really make sure we've got like we know how to just force chest position from top, and then we know all the different intricacies of how we're distributing our weight, the combinations of over and underhooks we can use, the upper and lower body dilemmas to pass from here, like things that now I do pretty intuitively, making sure that other guys get that ingrained. And then once they do, you can be like, hey, that position that we've been doing that now everybody's really good at and takes for granted, look at this really cool new variation you can do from there, right?
So thank you. That was a excellent.
I know it's a lot. I start to ramble.
No, dude, you're killing all the questions. I don't have anything else to ask. But a lot of what I took from that is, yes, you explain your experience, how you focus on your own knowledge and growth and progression, but how that's helped you develop as an instructor.
Yeah.
And then you also sharing some of your game, which also helps you improve. So you're like, hey, I'm helping the next generation, but I'm also helping myself improve because I'm still seeing this as, not white belt eyes, but still seeing yourself as an active learner.
Yeah, well, exactly. Exactly, because there is still, and I think like, in order to not get left behind in certain trends, you have to kind of like really keep an open mind for a lot of moves. Like for instance, like everybody's been doing like octopus guard now and stuff, and like for me, it's not really a position I find myself in much and really prefer. So I had put off like studying and learning it for a while. Like I had like a base rudimentary knowledge of it. But I was like, you know what? I don't want this to be one of those positions where like down the line, if I have students that are like, oh, what do you like to do from here? Like I want to have an answer for everything, every position everywhere, right? So I set aside time and I was like, you know what? I don't really like favor this position. I don't do it a lot, but like I need to do it. I need to play. Yeah, there's merit to it. You're seeing people using it at a high level with a lot of effect, and like if you want to be able to counter it well, you got to be able to play it well, right? So it's the same with like, that's why I tell everybody with the leg game. Like I didn't get
join them,
dude. Like I didn't get good at like leg locks till I was a black belt, and I'm still like good at leg locks.
No offense,
not like an expert.
Who's leg locking you?
You'd be surprised. Well, you know why? Because leg locks are so popular. You're playing with fire when you do them, right? Like every time you're leg locking somebody, you're usually like not that far away from being able to be leg locked yourself. Yeah. So you see a lot of high level leg lockers get leg locked because some of them it's just like that's like you're playing with fire, right? Yeah. So I do get leg locked quite a lot because like with certain leg locks, like I'm very good at like for whatever reason I have like good ankle flexibility. So like ankle locks I can kind of tolerate well, but some heel hooks, there's people, if I leave my foot dangling out, if I'm going for my own attack and I leave my foot dangling out there and somebody snags it, I'm like, all right, I'm fucked. Like, you got it, bro. But yeah, it's just like, even, I tell a lot of guys, if you don't want to play leg locks, that's fine, but like, understand it. Because if you want to shut it down, you're going to be way better suited to shut it down if you know what constitutes good leg lock attacks, good leg lock position. So, have respect for it, do a deep dive, learn it, and then if you don't want to play it, good, but like at least you comprehend it, right?
And the safety part too. Now, let me ask you this part, the safety part of not just leg locks in general, probably in general, because you can zig in someone's zags and straight foot lock becomes an Aoki, right? It's important to learn for the safety aspect, especially being in some of the gi and older weight classes like myself. Like I can't do more than just a straight foot lock, even in gi, which is fine. I'm fine with that, unless I do like a finishers or I'm in grappling industries or something. There's some merit to that, right? Because then you can have more comfort in your training and not panic if you're in like some open mat one day and somebody grips you up. You don't have to like white belt tap before it happens, right? Don't you?
Yeah. So I maybe this will answer your question. Is I usually teach leg locks pretty early to people. Like I will teach them a lot to like lower belts and stuff like that.
Right.
I make sure I preface it with like, hey, just understand that like these are delicate positions and you can be doing everything right and the other person does the wrong thing and injures themselves. So make sure when you're attacking it that you're not like gripping and ripping it, right? That you're more so focused on establishing like good position control and then letting the leg lock like really come to you and develop instead of like going for it and forcing it. But I think you have to show guys it early on, because if you don't, and they're behind, and then they're the ones that are going to injure themselves, because they're going to be like purple belts, right, or brown belts, and they're going to be getting caught in leg locks by blue belts that have been getting exposed to it and learning it, and they're going to panic, and they're going to be like, I don't want to tap to this lower belt. I don't know what this is, right? And they're going to try to force themselves out. So I show it to a lot of lower belts, because I'm like, hey, look, like, this is just the way the game is now. It's everybody's doing it. You got to learn it. The sooner you can learn it, even though it's a quote unquote like dangerous position, like, you're going to have more knowledge of it, more comprehension. You're going to be less likely to get injured in it, because you know what it is.
It makes it a lot more
And I mean, realistically, like, I mean, nobody wants to get like injured in any submission, but like, for as bad as it can be to get like your foot popped or your knee popped, like, I think I'd rather that than somebody like
heel hook yourself,
wrenching a Kimura on me and like my shoulder getting fucked up, you know? Like a shoulder injury is like bad, right? Yeah. So like, it's, if we're going to talk about like the danger of leg locks, like, I think it's just because it's not yet like, it's a lot more intuitive to defend like upper body moves, right?
We spend so much time.
Yeah, and like most people are just
that way with.
You're introduced that way, and like, and you can kind of just like hunker down and shell up, and like, even if you're untrained, like, you know that like, for the most part, that like an arm bar, a Kimura, like all those things are going to require somebody like taking your limb away. So like, if you just shell up and you use like, you ball up and you use strength, you have a decent chance you're going to defend that attack. Sometimes, right? Sometimes with the leg locks, like, you're just looking at it, you're like, I don't know what to do. I can't pull my leg back in, right? Because like, and so it's more just like that fear of the unknown that makes it more like dangerous. So,
and then if the internet doesn't help with this too, if you're new, because I didn't really start paying attention to footlocks until more so recent, more so recently, and a little before, actually right when Purple Belt happened. I was like, I got to take this seriously. And then I did Garden Industries, and I I did the toe hold on that dude. I was like, yes, this is paying off. But then I did finishers this past year, and I got smoked.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I got heel hook. Like, I survived. Yeah, I did pretty good.
But there's some really good leg locks.
That's what they do. And that was the challenge. I was like, how well have I learned foot knowledge enough to defend myself long enough to last at least halfway through the 8 minutes? Yeah. It's these brown belts, mind you. And it was cool. And I walked away on my own power. So I knew when to tap. They weren't ripping things. Yeah. But I was like aware of like some of the nuances. I have a long way to go. Yeah. But I think that exposure was important. Yeah. I was thinking like, I'm behind, it's purple belt. I'm looking at all these videos. There's blue belts are coming here, putting me in straight footlocks, and you guys are just doing footlocks from the back. I don't know. You guys are scared.
No, it's dude, even with me, like I feel pretty good and pretty competent at leg locks right now. But they're scary, man. It's always dicey, and there's so many different ones. There's so many counters to counters that like, and guys are just getting so good at them so early on that like, you really like. I don't know many people that can like consistently like attack and play the leg game against like other good leg lockers and not get leg locked themselves. You know, like you see some really high level guys get leg locked, and it's just like, even though their leg locks are good, it's just that's the nature of the position. So I think like, if you kind of know that going in, and you're just like, hey, I'm just going to have to take my lumps here, and I'm going to have to like stay in the pocket and just kind of like be able to start getting comfortable, like analyzing what's happening and like what I have to do to defend, you get more and more acclimated to it. You get better and better. And then, you know your own limitations. You know, like, hey, I feel strong in these leg lock positions. I don't feel strong in these. So like, I ain't going to spend much time there. I'm going to avoid those, or like,
That like, playing field is different. Like, you know this better than I do. I was like, I'm going to start playing footlocks with some of these people. And I remember just feeling so helpless. I was like, I have to learn. I told Steve, I was like, dude, I got to learn. I started visiting Ernest again. I was like, dude, you got to teach me basic. He's like, oh, I'm like, no, I don't even need to know what a heel hook is. What do I do with a basic footlock besides like the scoot? Because people get really good with like their, the leg entanglement. No, so, that's been and I favor saddle now. I'm starting to learn saddle a lot. I had some success. We can talk about that.
Absolutely, bro.
I know we're getting pretty close to time. We'll have to do a round 2, dude.
I know, right? This went quick, man. But
you covered a lot of stuff I'd normally ask in terms of, but I want to ask this one, and then we can drop it.
Yeah.
We'll come back because I want to go more into your background. Advice for new people or anybody in their jiu-jitsu career. I know you gave a lot of your exposure, which helps, and a lot of friends and folks who watch this ask for that kind of knowledge. What advice do you have for anybody in jiu-jitsu, competing, not competing, whatever, just, you know, somebody early on in their training or where I'm at?
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's, you know, probably no shortage of different routes of advice you could give or take. I think personally, what I like from my own experience and journey, what I maybe wish I would have like done or known to do sooner is I would just say like really, you know, treat the sport like as a science mostly, like respect how much information and like practice and study needs to go into this other than just the physical aspect, right? Because it can get easy to get wrapped up in like,
I just want to roll all the time.
Yeah, like
come to class, dude.
Exactly that, or even if you do come to class, like it can be easy to just go through the physical motions, right? And
well, like I've seen this technique before.
Yeah,
I'm not a white belt anymore, so like,
yeah,
that like I've seen it before, brain kind of thing.
And yeah, or just to just think that like because you're doing the kinesthetic aspect of the sport, that's like the be all end all. I think what I wish I would have done sooner, and what I think makes the biggest difference for me now in my comprehension of jiu-jitsu is like obviously the kinesthetic aspect is probably the most important. You have to be on the mat actually physically doing it, but like if you can really be studious and cerebral in like understanding the why behind all the positions, like why does this version of the knee cut like work well? Like what is it, you know, structurally doing to the person from a physiological standpoint or body mechanics standpoint that makes it so good? Because that's where I think you start to like your comprehension of the sport goes up, and it's not just that you have a bunch of moves memorized, a bunch of positions memorized. It's that you can be in any, you know, distance on top or on bottom and know, you know, what grips you need to make, what positions you need to make with your body in order to do certain things to the other person's body. And like, of course it winds up being a move, but you're not really like just plugging in moves. You're more so, you have an understanding of like, hey, I know how to manipulate this person's body, right, regardless of how I'm positioned to them, what they're doing. Like I have goals in mind. I have a hierarchy of position. Yeah. I have a game plan. I have a system. That's what really makes you feel like confident in jiu-jitsu, you know? Because otherwise, if you're just always plugging moves in, you're going to feel good until you don't feel good, right? Like,
because the problem solving and the research goes away. You're just, it's just a lot of physical ability, I guess, with like muscle memory, but that doesn't always answer the question. Because you're going to get people, like you said, that have like the kryptonite to your game.
Yes.
Specifically.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want to encounter that because you feel really helpless when you do. And that was kind of my experience. I had positions I was really good in, and you know, I just like I wouldn't think a lot when I was like rolling. I just like my instincts, my intuition for positions that I had done for years and years would take over. But if I went against somebody that didn't let me get those and didn't let, like, I felt like helpless. Like I was then just improvising, and sometimes I could get by. Like a good example is when I had my title match against like JT Torres for Fight to Win. He was like the first dude who I went against where I was like, that motherfucker is a pro jiu-jitsu competitor. Like I'd been competing a long time.
I was so good.
I thought I was okay. I'm like, that motherfucker, he's got his own Wikipedia page. That motherfucker is a jiu-jitsu professional. But you know what it was is he was just so methodical and he was so cerebral. And anything I tried to do, he shut down. Yeah. He forced his own spots. I held my own just by being like tenacious and not giving up and not quitting and being strong and scrappy. But I was getting dominated, you know? And it was like, I couldn't, in the heat of things, like slow it down and analyze and look and be like, I need to do this because he's positioned here, you know? Right. Now, when I do that, I don't really like, even if I'm losing a match or somebody gets a better position on me, like I don't really get deterred because I know that at any point I can still look and analyze like what they're doing and how they're positioned and know that I have the tools to deal with it, right?
You have a game plan.
I have a game plan, I have a strategy, right. Like that I think makes it so much more comfortable. So I would say like people that are starting, like of course show up, do the techniques, listen, like be a sponge, but really take a lot of ownership of your own comprehension of the sport. Do your research and your study to really understand the why, and you know, and be like you said, be a problem solver. Brainstorm stuff. Get in and experiment positions with people. Like, don't feel like you have to just plug in the moves you learn. Like, get into those spots, feel things out, get your partner to give you different reactions.
Yeah.
See what's working and you know why, and then build from there. I think like that really makes you feel like you understand the sport, and it gives you a lot of confidence going forward.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man, Dylan, this is awesome. How do people find you? I'll put your socials up. Are we doing that? Is it?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's Facebook. It's Dylan Royce. My Instagram is Royce Dylan. It's funny because every time I teach like combatives courses and stuff, if I write my, you know, like people will see me on the EFC page, the company I teach for, but they'll see the Instagram handle, you know, as Royce Dylan, and so a lot of people think my first name's Royce, and so I always like, even after when I'm teaching those courses, like I'll introduce myself as Dylan Royce, but then I'll put my contact info up, and then they just see Royce Dylan. So like I'll have guys like during the course be like, "Hey Royce, how do I do it?" And I'm like, I hope this dude knows that's not my first name.
I thought you were going to say there's some other dude named Dylan Royce or whatever. I thought
probably
does something totally different.
Oh yeah, well
like
that's probably why I had to make the handle the way I did like years ago.
Yeah.
But now it's just funny because like I said, most people know that it's my last name and then my first name on the handle. But I think there's still people who like, they just see it and then they call me Royce, and I'm like, I think this dude thinks that's my first name.
That's
the only benefit of it is in like IBJJF competitions, because then sometimes the ref sees like Royce and they think it's Hoyce. So then I get a little a little Brazilian favoritism, which that goes a long way.
I appreciate it. All right, boss. It was a pleasure.
Bro, thank you so much, man.
As always, please like and subscribe and tap in.